Picture this. You're scrolling through someone's social media and they post their fourth cat adoption photo. Your first thought? Probably something about the crazy cat lady stereotype. But here's what the research actually shows. People who own 3 or more cats score 20% higher on empathy tests than the general population. They're not withdrawing from society. They're wired differently. And the science behind why someone crosses from 2 cats to 3 reveals something fascinating about human attachment, loneliness, and what we're actually searching for when we bring another animal into our home. It's 6:30 in the morning. Sarah's preparing breakfast while 5 cats orchestrate a symphony of demands around her feet. One leaps onto the counter, another headbutts her shin, a third screams from the windowsill like she hasn't eaten in days. To an outsider, it looks like chaos. To Sarah, it's a carefully choreographed dance she wouldn't trade for anything. She's not alone in this. Between 10 and 15% of cat-owning households in the United States have 3 or more cats, representing millions of people who've made this choice. But here's what's interesting. The jump from 2 cats to 3 isn't just about loving cats more. It's a psychological threshold. Something shifts in how you see yourself, how you structure your home, how you relate to the world. So what makes someone cross that line? What separates the 2-cat household from the 5-cat household? The answer involves attachment theory, brain chemistry patterns that might surprise you, and yes, even a controversial parasite theory that sparked heated debate in the scientific community. But first, we need to understand what's actually happening in the brain when you bond with that 3rd, 4th, or 5th cat. Before we go further, we need to zoom out. There are 94.2 million cats living in American households right now. That's more cats than dogs. This isn't fringe behavior we're examining. This is a fundamental part of how millions of people structure their lives. Now, you've heard the stereotype. Crazy cat lady. Lonely woman surrounded by cats, disconnected from human society. And there's a kernel of truth buried in there, but it's not what you think. Women do own multiple cats at about a 2-to-1 ratio compared to men. But the real predictor isn't gender. It's living alone. People who live by themselves are 40% more likely to own 3 or more cats than people who live with others. This matters because we're not just talking about pet preference. We're talking about how humans cope with isolation, how we build attachment systems when traditional social structures aren't available, and where the line sits between healthy companionship and something more complicated. The mental health implications run deep. For some people, cats provide genuine therapeutic benefit. For others, the collecting behavior masks something darker that can tip into hoarding territory. But to understand who crosses that threshold and why, we first need to look at the personality profile that predicts multi-cat ownership. And the traits that show up might surprise you. Researchers at the University of Lincoln ran a fascinating study in 2019. They gave empathy tests to hundreds of cat owners and found something striking. People who owned 3 or more cats scored significantly higher on cognitive empathy scales than both single cat owners and the general population. Cognitive empathy isn't just feeling what others feel. It's the ability to understand and predict emotional states in others. Multi-cat owners are exceptionally good at reading subtle cues, recognizing individual needs, and responding to complex emotional environments. Dr. Shelley Volsky, who studies human-animal bonds, puts it bluntly. These people are literally wired to understand others' emotional states at a deeper level than average. But empathy is just the beginning. When you map multi-cat owners onto the Big 5 personality traits, another pattern emerges. They score high on openness to experience. These are people who don't just tolerate complexity and unpredictability, they're drawn to it. Think about what managing multiple cats actually requires. Each animal has distinct preferences, territories, social hierarchies. Your morning routine isn't linear. It's a web of competing demands you have to navigate in real time. Most people would find that exhausting. Multi-cat owners find it engaging. Now here's where it gets deeper. A 2018 study on attachment theory and pet ownership found that people with anxious attachment styles, those who crave closeness but fear abandonment in human relationships, use pets as emotional regulation tools. Cats provide something humans can't always deliver: consistent availability without the threat of rejection. They don't leave, they don't judge, they don't have competing priorities that pull them away from you. This is the part where the stereotype gets it backwards. Multi-cat owners aren't avoiding human connection. They're seeking connection in a way that matches their emotional wiring. They've found a social structure that works for their nervous system. But personality explains who becomes a multi-cat owner. To understand why cats are so uniquely effective at meeting these emotional needs, we need to look at the biology of the bond itself. And that's where things get really interesting. When you pet a cat, something measurable happens in your body. Your cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, drop by 15 to 20% within just 10 minutes of interaction. This isn't placebo effect. This is your endocrine system responding to physical contact with another living creature. And cats are uniquely effective at triggering this response. The purr itself is fascinating. Cats purr at frequencies between 25 and 150 hertz. Those exact frequencies have been shown in multiple studies to promote bone healing, reduce inflammation, and lower blood pressure. It's not just comforting, it's biologically therapeutic. You're essentially getting low-grade physical therapy while your cat sits on your lap. The mental health data backs this up. Multi-cat owners show 30% lower rates of clinical depression and anxiety compared to non-pet owners. That's a bigger effect size than some antidepressant medications. But here's what makes multiple cats different from having just one. Each cat has a distinct personality. One might be your morning companion, alert and playful when you wake up. Another becomes your evening anchor, calm and cuddly when you're winding down. A third might be your work-from-home supervisor, checking in throughout the day. You're not just getting more of the same therapeutic effect. You're getting different types of emotional support matched to different moments and moods. It's like having a full support network, except it's feline. Now we need to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the parasite. You've probably heard about toxoplasmosis, the theory that a parasite cats carry literally changes human behavior and makes people collect more cats. The media loves this story because it sounds like science fiction. And yes, Toxoplasma gondii does exist. Yes, it's transmitted through cat feces. And yes, it can affect brain chemistry in rodents, making them less afraid of cats. But the human research? Far less dramatic. A 2020 meta-analysis found no significant correlation between toxoplasma infection and cat ownership numbers. The parasite doesn't make you collect cats. It's just something cat owners need to be aware of for basic hygiene, so the biology is clear. Cats provide measurable therapeutic effects. Multiple cats amplify and diversify those effects. But this raises the question we've been circling around. Are these cats meeting emotional needs that should be met by humans? Are multi-cat owners substituting feline relationships for human ones? And if they are, is that actually a problem? When researchers survey multi-cat owners about why they keep adding cats, 40% cite loneliness or social isolation as a primary factor. That number is impossible to ignore, and we already know multi-cat owners are 40% more likely to live alone than the general pet-owning population. On the surface, this looks like evidence for the stereotype: lonely people collecting cats as human substitutes. But Dr. Carrie Westgarth, who studies human-animal bonds at the University of Liverpool, pushes back on this interpretation. She argues that cats provide emotional support equivalent to human relationships in quality, if not identical in type. The key word is equivalent, not inferior. Cats meet genuine emotional needs: companionship, routine, purpose, physical affection. The real question isn't whether these needs are real, it's whether meeting them with cats instead of humans indicates a problem. COVID-19 gave us an unintended natural experiment. During lockdowns, multi-cat adoptions surged 35 to 40%. Were these people becoming pathologically isolated or responding intelligently to a genuine social crisis? The answer is probably both, depending on the person. Some multi-cat owners have rich social lives and simply prefer feline company at home. The cats are an addition, not a replacement. Others are more isolated, neurodivergent, trauma-affected, or working schedules that don't align with typical social opportunities. For them, cats fill a void that human connection can't sustainably reach. One thing reveals intentionality: the financial commitment. 3 cats costs $4,500 to $6,000 a year. This isn't impulsive behavior. It's deliberate resource allocation. That said, there is a line. Somewhere between 5 well-cared-for cats and 30 animals in squalor. Healthy behavior tips into pathology. Welfare organizations place the hoarding threshold at 10 or more cats without proper care. But researcher Dr. Clive Wynne argues the number itself isn't what matters. It's quality of care, the owner's mental state, and the animal's welfare. Most people in the 3 to 6 cat range meet every standard. They've built enriched environments and made intentional lifestyle choices that reflect their personality, values, and emotional needs. They're not replacing human connection. They're building connection in the form that works for their wiring. And for most of them, that's not just healthy, it's thriving.